Hello and welcome to Curation Conversations, myself, Fern Potter. I'm joined by our wonderful partners at Aristotle today for a really important conversation. This year, we are slated to spend over 10 billion in advertising for the midterms. And this is a 20% increase of what we've seen previously. So not only is it really important that we understand how to work as advertisers to capitalize on the advertising opportunity that there is in political advertising this year, but also the data and the people that sit behind where those ads are being placed. And joining me, as I said, on the conversation today is Aristotle. I've got the wonderful Kristin Moore and Andrew Tavani. Guys, if you'd love to introduce yourself, talk a bit about yourselves, your role, and then we'll dig into this year and what it means for political advertising.
Sure. My name is Kristin Moore. I run our business development on our data team, and I've been at Aristotle for 15 years.
Thanks, Fern. My name is Andrew Tavani. I'm the Executive Vice President of Data and Digital for Aristotle. I've been with Aristotle for 31 years. I've seen data and digital go through a metamorphosis for sure. And I joined them in '95. Started doing voter data and consumer data, international and auto and other databases, and then services built around it. So as digital sort of came into play, we went from offline to online, utilizing our data for our clients and customers. So it's been fun. For sure, and still have as much energy as I did, when I first started.
So, but you talked about how it started, and you had to evolve into digital. Mm-hmm. Political data plays such an important part of the ecosystem today. Like, what is it about the Aristotle data that is so rich, and how does it work for advertisers?
Well, I think a lot of people are surprised to find out that our company is over 40 years old, just because we have made so many strides on the digital front. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of people probably think that we're a newer company. But, we're just new to the digital scene. And, I started out on our CRM, our political compliance CRM, and transitioned over to our data team. But honestly, I think Andrew could speak more to it about starting off collecting the political data and then overlaying it with our consumer data and other pieces of data.
Yeah, there's one on the political side of things. Even though data is more accessible generally than it was 25 years ago, there's a real art to doing it. So there's some states that are either very challenging or very expensive to get. So we've been very good at doing that for a very long time. We also do a really good job at cleaning the data and curating the data and putting together unique segments and unique audiences, which is really, really important. And that our match rates tend to be really good. So in the digital space, if your match rates are higher, you're going to serve more impressions. You're going to be able to, everyone's going to win. The organization's going to be able to reach more people, and you're able to get a little bit more spend. But I think it's our data quality and currency, the unique audiences, and then the ability to get unique data. So it's not just voter and consumer data. We have CPG data and brand data and early and absentee data and international. So our scope of what we're able to cover is pretty unique. So everyone who needs data, we're able to come up with a customized solution, basically a concierge suite to fit their needs.
That's incredible wealth of information that advertisers can tap into to, as you said, really tailor and find the audience specific to their campaign, but obviously probably drive insights out of that information as well by understanding the customers that they're targeting. For you, what's that balance? You mentioned there's a balance between kind of scale and compliance, especially in the US, is different per every state. How do you manage that as an organization and help businesses through navigating those challenges?
So, we started out as Andrew mentioned, doing compliance CRM, and that core idea hasn't really changed. We're very focused on the data quality, innovation, compliance, and also staying nonpartisan. So, our goal is to give our clients accurate data and the tools to actually use it responsibly. So we're constantly keeping up with any changes that states have as far as how the voter data can be used. And that's why we also enriched it with these other data points like consumer and others to go ahead and be able to give clients the opportunity to use data, but also stay in compliance with state regulations.
Yeah, I mean, compliance, especially in the political space, is key, right? Because if you have a reputation of your data being hacked, we've obviously never been hacked with our data ever, so we're very proud for that. But also, we follow each state's state compliance laws. Our general counsel, chief compliance officer, is a former FEC chairman, so he's fantastic. We only get the best on that. And to piggyback what Kristin said too, I mean, we obviously are a compliance company as well. So you want our clients to feel comfortable coming to us, where they don't have to rely on, was there are they lacking compliance? Because that could kind of end their campaign. That could be a real negative. So that's not an issue with us. So we not only follow the laws, but also the best practices, in the digital space. With that being said, by following the best practices, there's certain things we do to help improve the scale of the data. Where we're bringing in multiple sources. We're bringing in our own digital signals, device IDs, HEMs, MAIDs, cookies to really improve the match rate. So it gives us a lot of flexibility with the partners that we want to work with. So I think that's also very important.
Yeah. I think you mentioned such an important point there. Like you said, the foundation is your foundation is in the trust, is in the compliance of the data. And you've always had that. And then being able to bridge in and build this beautiful profile that advertisers can tap into, but in a real brand safe way, and in a real, not just legally compliant, but making sure that advertisers have complete confidence in your business to be able to deliver the right kind of advertising in the right place with consent and compliance at the heart, I think is truly valuable, especially when in that shift into digital media, where there's almost this expectation, isn't there, that every partner that advertisers are working with sign up to trust and consumer consent.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on also what you said, I mean, I think it's going to keep going farther. So now the more and more states are going to keep having stricter compliance laws. So the organizations that are already there and already have an infrastructure in place are going to be the ones very well positioned to address their clients in the future. And you see Europe obviously doing that with GDPR, and you'll see many states, California leading the way, and others, on the state side, it's very important to be ahead on compliance. Otherwise, you sort of open yourself up to to scrutiny and things that your clients don't really need to deal with. They just want to worry about, having faith in the reliability about the individual campaign, for sure.
Yeah. So you're set up as that network for success already, because you've got that scope across all of those markets to be able to bring that into the data that they're activating, which I think, as you said, is so valuable in such a changing marketplace. You mentioned there, Andrew, your clients. So who are you generally working with at Aristotle? Like what are the success stories that you've got that you can share with us?
The scope of our clients is pretty wide. And part of that is being a nonpartisan company, a nonpartisan organization, but part of it is really having the scale of the team focusing on different markets. So we've worked directly or indirectly with every member of the White House for the past 25 years. We've also worked with campaigns down to dog catcher at city council, the bottom of the market as well. So that's on the campaign side. We also work with a lot of trade associations and nonprofits, a lot of education organizations, a lot of political action committees. So you have to be able, in order to do that, you need to have the type of data that's really going to fit their needs. And then non-political will do as well on the B2C side and the corporate side. So we work with a lot of different clients. The success stories, I mean, are how they're using it, whether it's been fundraising or get out to vote, or early voting, or just communicating their message. I mean, I think it's very important that we have political professionals. So sometimes it's very challenging for companies outside the political space to come in. They may do great work digitally, but they don't have the political know-how and knowledge. And I think that's very important, or we combine both. It's constantly changing. So it's what happened 2 cycles ago, or even last cycle, is very different than what's going on now. I mean, the demographics are changing. The races that are focusing on are changing. One thing that we do have, here is we have, very competitive races. The balance of power is very narrow. So the persuadable voters are the ones that really decide the election, and it's a small slither. So you have both sides really trying to get their base out, and as well as trying to really bring in more swing voters and put together that sort of coalition. And it hasn't been this close in a very long time. So right now, obviously, the Republicans are in control, but I mean it's very narrow. And you look at all the recent elections. I mean, whether it be at the presidential or at the congressional, Senate, or down at the local level, they've been extremely competitive.
That makes sense. In that case, in that competitiveness, and you mentioned is slightly unprecedented, and the cycles are changing. How is Aristotle approaching the fact there's new formats? Like we've seen the rise of CTV, we've even audio. Is this something you can address with the data that you have?
Yeah. So, we have gone from in the political world doing emailing and texting, but now it's really transitioned into more of a full digital ecosystem. And that's why we've gone out and gotten the signals to build audiences, IPs, HEMs, MAIDs, all the things that people would need to go ahead and run a media campaign. And also at the same time, the scale of data has exploded, and how it's being used, layering in those behavioral signals, building models, things like that. So also scrutiny has really increased. I would say everyone's paying closer attention to how things are being done. So compliance and transparency aren't really optional. They're looked at.
A few other things I'll also say in addition to what to Kristin's valid points is, I think on the CTV side, it's obviously where it's at. It's the buzzword for political, but political is in many cases typically a few years behind corporate America and the brands. I mean, think about it. It's a startup. They're running for a sprint even though the cycles are getting longer and longer, they're running for a short period of time. So digital was used by some of the campaigns at the top of the ticket a few years back, and now everyone is utilizing digital. And CTV is obviously buzzword is sort of where it's at. So linear obviously is still the main medium. Cable is starting to, a lot of the dollars that were spent on cable are really being pushed to CTV, and that's why you see such a rapid growth there. Another thing that you're seeing too is you're not wasting any spend with CTV, but you can see the IP addresses. With linear, you'll run an ad, and it's by media market. So some will be inside the district, some will be outside the district, and with CTV, you're able to sort of control that and having a cross-screen approach. So as Kristin said, what we do is we enrich our data with IP address, which is the main identifier for CTV, as well as CTV ID. So we're able to run an effective campaign, and we can spin off any audience on our identity graph. And with the CTV on the IPs, you need to refresh them regularly because obviously they're constantly changing. I mean, think about in your house when the power goes out, or you're changing providers where the IPs are turning over, and need to be able to make sure that's up to date, so you can so you can obviously deliver the ads. And then behind that, you'll have other, not only the accuracy, but then you have other intent data behind that, such as ACR data, such as all the issue profiles, whether they're a donor, what party they are. So you have all this information, and then you're able to spin off pre-built audiences and work with curation partners to go even a step further, and then customize the audiences as well.
Yeah, that's an incredible wealth of information that you can target on. Are you also using those signals to optimize the campaigns in flight for advertisers?
Great question. We absolutely are. I mean, it's depending on how long they're running the campaign and what their goal is, absolutely you have to optimize it. And what we do is the reporting is key, and it has to be fluid. Especially on the campaign side. Sometimes you'll have an opponent that will come up with an ad and they need to change their tactics, or one channel is not working as successfully as another, so you need to be able to change that or change the ad. So the content's important, the branding is important, and also the status of the race. It's not just you're running an ad continually. You have to be dynamic and really being able to change things depending on how the campaign goes. Yeah,
so those optimization in flight of the campaign are so important just because of the changeable environment that you're operating in. And it's amazing me speaking to you both about the speed. Like, you have to be so agile, which I guess plays to your strength of having all of those signals in one place. You can divert and optimize to those business outcomes as quickly as possible, but still reach an audience at scale.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, campaigns have minutes or hours to react, not days. So that really changes and impacts, how the data needs to be structured and activated. So
yeah.
So for us, I mean, like you said, it's a 24/7 business, and for us, I mean, we're by having an online portal which you can customize audiences in real time. I think that's obviously huge. Our online platform, you're obviously able to do that, but then have the relationships in place to be able to push something that's customized in real time is really important. If it takes a week for you to get them an audience, a custom audience they want, I mean, they're already on to something else. So you have to be able to react quickly and execute quickly. So I couldn't agree more, and even more so in the political space.
I love that. I feel like it's never going to be a dull moment, is it, working at Aristotle? I can just imagine that you've just got so many different campaign demands coming at you at all times. What's the because you mentioned about speed.
It's fun. It's
a lot of fun. You talk about speed and agility. So top of mind is the other topic. You mentioned CTV being a trend, but obviously AI being kind of all-encompassing to every business at the moment. But are there tactics and applications of AI that you're using at Aristotle that helps with that agility and that speed and insights?
Yes. I mean, AI, we use AI every day in some sort of capacity. One is obviously building machine learning models and using AI to do that. I think that's really important. I know Kristin mentioned that earlier, but I think that's extremely important what we do. So the accuracy of what we're pulling, if we're building a customized model on who's likely to support or not support or in the middle by having those models is important. I think also when you're building when you're playing the real estate game and trying to have such a wide array of audiences, you have to use AI a little bit. And some of the things that we're starting to do and looking to build upon is to layer in the AI into our online platform. We're working on that, where someone can put in, target this group, and it actually puts in the query for them and nice. Pull it. So we're working on that, and that's something in the future that's sort of that we're looking to offer to our clients. But each and every day we use AI to make things easier. It's not perfect. It's trust and verify, but it helps you get there so much quicker. Kristin, I don't know if you had anything more.
I was just going to add about how, AI, I think that it can definitely be used as a feedback tool, but at the end of the day, it's human judgment should guide it as well.
Another thing on the AI too is obviously coming up with the ads. So it used to be that it would take a week to generate some of these creatives and these ads, for digital. And if the creative takes a while, then the campaign doesn't launch, and so you may have the data in place, but I think that's also helping the full digital spectrum for a lot of these campaigns, is they're able to spin off creatives quickly, and it's able to shorten the time frame that they're able to release ads.
Yeah, I can imagine that's so important.
You combine that with the data side. I mean, I think it's the whole process that is becoming quicker.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately so important when you talk about the speed of which the market's changing during the campaign and during each cycle, that if you've got the ability to be able to bridge the gap between, the audiences and the moment that you want to target into, then bringing in any kind of speed to creative build will be lower that barrier to getting the most effective results. When we talk about your clients, what kind of results are they looking for? I know you mentioned a few outcomes previously in the conversation, whether it would be around fundraising, whether it would be an awareness. What does a really good campaign working with Aristotle look like in your experience?
Well, our campaigns want to win. Okay, it's a sort of it's a first past the post, I guess sort of thing, winner take all. So they want to win. And it's 50+1 in most states where there's not a plurality. So that's their goal. But campaigns also funding is very important. It's very important to be very strategic. So they'll have certain goals depending upon, what they're trying to accomplish. So fundraising is obviously very important, and that's sort of constant. And typically it's texting and also digital ads that's really raising money and driving traffic to their site, whether it's small donors or even middle and large donors. So for us, we have database of donors. We obviously collect and curate and maintain that information. So we're able to sort of communicate that from the data side, but also create audiences, in that regard, which is real important. As the campaign comes along, obviously they're trying to build a brand. They're trying to communicate a message. If they're an association, they may have a certain issue that they're trying to communicate that might be up in the legislature or in Congress that they're trying to be for or against. So it's going to depend upon what the goals are of the campaign. By having the data, gives us great flexibility to run all areas of the campaign. It's not just, hey, the campaign is over or we lost, we're done running ads. I mean, that's not the case at all. I mean, it's got to be continuous. But fundraising obviously is very important. Early voting, I can't stress that enough. To have the campaigns start much earlier than they used to. So it's not just election day. Yeah, most states have early voting that's 30 to 45 days before, so that the getting people out to the polls starts much earlier. And then having the ability to suppress people that have already voted from their audiences, so you're not wasting spend, is also very important. And we do that as well. So we track on a daily basis who's voted. So it's like receiving a piece of mail. You don't want to receive a piece of mail of someone who's dead. You want a piece of mail of someone who's already voted. You're wasting money. And that's sort of something that we really pride ourselves on and try to do that as well, where no one likes to waste money. They don't mind paying a premium for something, but no one likes to waste unnecessary money. And that's something we try to control with strategy and our data and sort of our, also the curation with some of our partners.
Yeah. Yeah. The call to action, really just depends on where you are in the cycle, whether it's for fundraising, to get people to register to vote early, things like that.
Yes, I think that's part of it. But I think also a big part of it in the political side of things is they're not working with people who are political. I think that I know I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but I can't stress that enough, because I think if you're working with a digital organization who doesn't understand politics, doesn't know the difference of that, you're getting advice on maybe on the digital side, accurately, but not on the political side. So even though we're nonpartisan and sort of our tagline, democracy is a growth business. What we're trying to do also is understand the political process and what needs to happen. And I can't stress that enough. So if you have non-political people giving advice on a campaign where you have to win, you're going to have challenges. So we like to work with partners who do understand the process, and our team understands the process, and then we combine data to accomplish their needs. So you combine that with some of the signals and the quality data, makes it for a very effective combination for sure.
I would definitely also mention you don't want to treat all platforms in the same way, especially from a political perspective. Each platform has its own restrictions on how it can be used for political purposes. And I would say working with an organization that only focuses on impressions instead of that real impact is important, because you have to remember the call to action that the campaign wants to, the outcome of the call to act, instead of just the impression served.
That's such a good point, isn't it? Because there's so much focus now. I think you've both touched upon it as well, is not only reducing costs, but really maximizing the outcomes. And I can imagine with the campaign, when you fundraise the investment and you put that into an advertising campaign, that you want to make sure that it's actually as being effective as possible in this vertical more than others, perhaps. So being able to make every single dollar count to an outcome, as opposed to, Kristin, as you mentioned, an impression, is hugely valuable to the clients and their businesses.
Sharon, can I add something to that? I think it kind of goes off Kristin's point, which I think is important, is the type of budgets and money that one campaign has to another. I think the strategy is also really important. So if you get somebody with unlimited funds, they're going to flood the airways the last 2 weeks of the campaign. And it doesn't matter if your strategy is to sort of get someone out to vote. If you have somebody who can outspend you 10 or 15 to 1, that's a huge advantage. So a lot of these campaigns, a lot of these organizations are trying to spend early and trying to really, so their message can be heard, versus the last couple of weeks where everyone's spending, where, think of all the ads that everyone's getting, all the ads, whether it be linear, whether it be on any sort of platform, whether it be on social, whether it be display, whether it be streaming. So campaigns have to be very creative to reach the people, at the right time, but also spend their money, where their message can be heard the most. Because sometimes that's a challenge as well.
There's and what you're saying is it feels like there's a really lovely position there for where the news is underfunded, because what we find a lot in the open web is those publications, because of brand safety in some environments, that those brands aren't advertising in the news titles. Whereas actually political campaign, it feels like there's a really lovely sweet spot here for political advertisers to lean into, to find the right people, which also benefits the open web.
It does. It absolutely does.
I love that. What do you see? So we're going into the midterms this year, and by our conversation, I'm assuming spending is already happening. What do you see as being the kind of the biggest trends this year, and maybe onwards into the next couple of years?
I think CTV is king right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously CTV is important, but I think the trends too that you're seeing is also integrating AI. I mean, I think you're going to see many more campaigns, obviously, bring AI into the mix and help them run more effective campaigns. I think the targeting is much more precise, even in last cycle on where it's been also. I mean, I think there's so much more information that you can layer on, in the data, adding adding web intent and call log data and all the curation that's sort of going on, and being able to put pixels on sites and retarget, and being able to do a lot of that. I think they're running a much more sophisticated campaign. I mean, it's people. It's just the way of the world now. People are on their phones, people are on their laptops, people are on their screens, and that information is out there. And within all the privacy laws and stuff like that, their information is out there to allow marketers and politicians to better target, and communicate their message.
Yeah, that's such a wonderful point, isn't it? Because you're dual screening, or even like tri-screening. Is that a thing? I know I'm sometimes on my phone, my laptop, and I've got the TV going. So there's being able to reach that person. I think, Kristin, you mentioned it as well, like on the right channel in the right way at that right time requires all of that information.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to be nimble and to be able to target those precise audiences, whether it's precinct level targeting, issue alignment, turnout modeling, things like that. It all really helps you reach the correct audience without a lot of wasted spend, and to focus your efforts where you can actually move the needle. So,
yeah, that's
the most effective campaigns have an omni-channel approach or a cross-screen approach, and for sure. And I think if you talk to some races and some people, they think running digital is just having a website or posting a social ad. So it's obviously much more sophisticated on that, and it really depends how sophisticated that campaign wants to be. The ones that are much more, politics is run by people who are younger, typically. So they're going to be much more forward thinking on using digital, even though digital is a few years behind on the political side. Much more forward thinking and able to run ads and run an omni-channel approach. And even if old mediums like direct mail is not dead. When you combine direct mail with digital, it makes that very effective. Audio is not dead. You have to combine audio with digital. I mean, so I think whether you're seeing ads on your phone or on your laptop, getting an ad as you go into the precinct and vote. I mean, we can do that. I mean, it's all being creative in what people are trying to do.
Kristin, Andrea, I want to thank you so much for sharing all of your insights and introducing us to the world that is Aristotle as well, like such premium amount of data that exists within your business. And it's been so fascinating talking to you both about that journey as well as a company and as an organization.
I think it came out.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that opportunity. And we can find out more on the Aristotle site.
We appreciate it too. Appreciate you guys having us, and it's a pleasure to talk to you both. And thank you for the third time's the charm, it looks like.
That's cool. No, thank you. You're wonderful. Both of you. I really appreciate it.